Hi guys, welcome back to another episode on my audiophile channel. So today what we're going to be talking about is this Sonos Roam, which I have reviewed previously, and we're going to be comparing it with the JBL Flip 5, which I have also reviewed previously. Now, if you haven't seen those, the links are right up here on top, or maybe it's here, okay? And you can check those reviews out. But for today, let's talk about the comparison between the two in all aspects, physical as well as sound performance wise. So stay tuned. So like I mostly do in all my reviews, I give you the answer up front. Some of you might be considering whether you're going to get the JBL Flip 5 or you're going to get the Sonos Roam. Now, the short answer is the JBL Flip 5 is a much louder, much bigger presence speaker than the Sonos Roam, unfortunately. And you're talking at about half the price of the Sonos Roam, depending on where you are. Right now in Singapore, they are running a promotion on the JBL Flip 5, which normally retails for $179. But if you stack vouchers on Lazada and all the shopping platforms online, you could get it for as low as $102 or even $106 with a free power bank thrown in. But no, besides the point. The point is, this Sonos Roam retails for $299 in Singapore. Of course, you could stack some vouchers and get it for a little bit cheaper as well on Lazada, but the point is, it is a lot more expensive, more than twice the cost of a Flip 5. Now, if I were to spend this amount on a Sonos Roam, I might put the same amount of money to buy two of these to stereo pair. Now, I haven't gotten another one of these. I've ordered another Flip 5 to get it in stereo pair. So if you are interested in this kind of videos where I talk about how speakers sound, how especially wireless speakers sound, do subscribe to the channel, leave a like on this video, and hopefully you will be able to catch that video when it launches. So if you're out in the market looking for one of these speakers, in terms of size and compactness, I think the Sonos Roam is there. If you are already in the Sonos ecosystem, meaning you have an Arc, you have a Sonos Beam somewhere, you are using Sonos Roam, then you're using the Sonos S2 app rather, then you might do well with this. There's some versatility that you can go on Wi-Fi or you can leave the home and use it as a Bluetooth speaker. This is one of the few Sonos speaker with Bluetooth capabilities. The other one being the Sonos Move, which is a lot bigger and a lot heavier at 3 kg and 6 times the volume and size of this Sonos Roam. But if you don't care about Wi-Fi, then maybe the JBL Flip 5 is the Bluetooth speaker for you. Now, I will go through all the physical aspect of these speakers first before I go into the sound performance. Now, in terms of size, this Flip 5 is slightly bigger. I'm going to switch camera view so that you can take a closer look. Okay, in terms of size, the Flip 5 is just a little bit bigger, maybe about a centimeters taller. And in terms of the profile, well, this is triangular and this is circular in shape, so you can't really tell, but in general, it's about a centimeter extra as well. This is a 18 by 7 centimeters. This is 17 by 6 centimeters. Weight-wise, this is over half a kg, 540 grams, and this is below half a kg at 430 grams. So there's a weight difference. This is a bigger speaker. Now, in terms of what is output, what is available on the speaker, this uses one racetrack speaker and the Sonos Roam has a dedicated tweeter. Okay, there are no passive radiators on the side, as opposed to this Flip 5, where there's one racetrack driver and two passive radiators on the side, where it helps to relieve the pressure when the bass notes kicks in. But this JBL Flip 5 does not have a dedicated tweeter. Okay, so apparently it is rated for 20 watts RMS. Whereas this, they don't talk about, the Sonos doesn't talk about how much power there is, just says that there are two Class H amplifier, each dedicated to both the racetrack mid drivers as well as the tweeter. So in terms of the physical control, if you look at the Sonos Roam, there's a play pause button, there's a volume up down. There is also a mic button now. This mic button, it enables or disables the mic. You could also say that the Sonos Roam uses the mic here for TruePlay, but there is some form of smart assistant integration. You can use Alexa, you can use Google Assistant on this Sonos Roam speaker, which you cannot do on the JBL. So the JBL doesn't have a built-in mic. So there is definitely no way you can use this as a speakerphone as well. Other than that, there's a play pause button, there's a volume plus minus control here, and this is for party boost, meaning you can link up a few others, and in fact up to hundreds of others JBL Flip 5 speakers to create a much bigger sound. Okay, otherwise at the back there's a power on off button and a Bluetooth. Now there is a charging jack here. This uses USB-C. It charges to full in 2.5 hours, 15 watt charging. Same for the Sonos Roam, also 15 watt charging. But it also has wireless charging. So you can use any Qi wireless charger and you'll be able to charge the Sonos Roam. In terms of battery performance, this is rated for 12 hours continuous playback and the Sonos Roam is rated for 10 hours continuous playback. I have not tested both in full because it takes quite a bit of time to actually wear these out. But the Sonos Roam, the battery is not very inspiring. When I used it, you can literally see the battery level dropping. So if you leave it aside for a couple of days and not use it, the battery will actually deplete itself. So I think it goes on standby or something. So if you want to leave this speaker aside, you either have to plug it in or you have to use the Qi wireless charger and you leave it on the dock all the time. Sonos sells a dedicated one that is shaped exactly the same, so you can place on top of it. It looks flush and nice and neat. But otherwise, any Qi wireless charger would do. In fact, I've used the magnetic charger from the iPhone 12 series, and it actually charges the Sonos Roam as well. So wireless charging, this guy has it. The the JBL Flip 5 does not have wireless charging, and this is the only way you can get any form of charge into the speaker. Now, if I were to turn this on, okay, you'll see that there is a battery indicator here. Okay, and this is a battery indicator. It's not a very distinct battery indicator, but this is a full bar, there's a half bar, and then okay, now it's playing something. Pardon me. Okay, so there you go. And oh yes, one more thing, water resistance. So both are rated for IPX7 water resistance, meaning you say you can dump it in water for up to 30 minutes at 1 meter depth. I've tried the waterproofing for the Sonos Roam. It works perfectly. I haven't tried it for the JBL Flip 5. Let me know if you want to do something like that and you want to do a comparison. May not be very meaningful, but well, they should perform as stated. IPX7 rating is a rating that is given only after certification. Okay, so in terms of connectivity, well, both are Bluetooth, but the Sonos Roam has Wi-Fi connectivity. It does AirPlay 2.0 as well, meaning to say, if you're coming from the Apple ecosystem, you can actually quite easily start playing to the Sonos Roam speaker on its own. This JBL Flip 5 is a pure Bluetooth 4.2, but it's multi-point, so you can actually connect two phones at the same time. There is also no auxiliary input, no mic input on this on this JBL Flip 5. Now, the other thing, which is not about the physical dimension of these two speakers in particular, is that the Sonos Roam comes in white or, the black one. And that is a colorway that has been running true to Sonos speakers for quite a long time. Occasionally, they do have the Hey series, Hey edition, where you run up a multitude of colors, but otherwise, you're quite stuck with black and white. Sometimes a shade of white. This is like a little bit grayish, but yeah, those are the two colors. Whereas the Flip 5 comes in so many colors you can point your fingers at. I can't even name them. So if I could attach a picture, you just take a look at how many colors. So I chose the red one. There are many colors available for the Flip 5. Okay, so very quickly, a quick chat on the ecosystem before we go on to talk about the sound performance of these two speakers. So on the Sonos Roam, you can actually have the S2 app. Let me just switch over to the S2 app so you can take a look at it. Yep. So the S2 app actually does something pretty well, and which is to manipulate the settings and set alarms and all the kind of things. So I mean, the S2 app on itself, maybe I'll make a video in the near future to talk all about the S2 app and its functionalities. But for now, just suffice to say that it actually has quite a few things enabled for it. So you have the bass settings, your treble settings, your loudness on. This is actually for the Sonos Arc, which I'm actually showing on this screen here. But effectively, everything basically transfers over to the Sonos Roam. So it has a pretty robust system, robust software and ecosystem that is being set aside. So the multi-room capabilities of this, it integrates perfectly. The Sonos Roam integrates perfectly with all the other Sonos speakers that you have at home. So if you are already invested in the Sonos ecosystem, then you might think that this is probably money pretty well spent. So technically, this is one of the cheapest Sonos speaker that you can get. But Sonos, we know that their stuff is not cheap. They don't fight based on budget. They don't fight based on price. They fight based on the software, the ecosystem, and the sound performance for its size. I'll talk about the sound performance in a while. Just bear with me, all right? So the other app that we're going to be looking at is the JBL Portable. So there you go. Okay, and this app is really pretty standard. There's nothing to it, right? So if you look at it, there's a red Flip 5, you click through it, okay? And the settings, there's really nothing to it. Feedback sound, yes, no, take a tour. And what's take a tour? Party mode. And you can set stereo mode. You want to get started. Okay, you get started, but well, basically, I don't have another one. So it's the same as pressing this button here. We press party boost, right? And then it starts looking for a nearby speaker to act as stereo pair. Or you can do party and it starts looking for more and more speakers. Or you could simply use this button here, party boost, to connect more speakers to play sound. So in terms of ecosystem, in terms of software connectivity, I think the JBL Flip 5 is seriously lacking. There is really not much. You can't do anything like set treble, set bass, set loudness, as opposed to the Sonos Roam. So if you are into any amount of tweaking at all, then maybe the Sonos Roam is your bet. Now for the next section, to maintain fair playing field, we are not going to do any EQ settings on the bass or the treble or the loudness for the Sonos Roam. So I'm just going to leave it stock as in factory setting before I talk about the sound. Okay, so in terms of the sound performance, what I do is I use REW software, is Room EQ Wizard, and I have a digital mic that is linked up to the PC, which will play a series of frequencies through these speakers and pick up on those frequencies and measure how well the speaker is performing or outputting all those frequencies. Now, I will switch over to the REW chart where I start measuring these speakers' performance and the frequency response at different volume level. So I went 25%, I went 50%, I went 80%, I went full out max volume. Now, suffice to say, the JBL Flip 5 is a lot louder, but let's take a look at the charts and you'll be able to figure out, I'll walk through it. I walk through the chart with you so that you can have a better idea of how to interpret the results. Okay, so what you have here right now, okay, this green line here is actually representing the Sonos Roam. Okay, so this is a Sonos Roam that's being represented by the green line at 25% volume. So as you can see, this is 200 hertz, right? Below 200 hertz, the bass starts tailing off already. The peak of bass is actually at 200 hertz. So pretty disappointing for at 25% volume. And if you look at the rest of the chart, when it falls to 45 decibels, I'll tell you at 45 decibels, it's barely audible. So take it from me, at 25% volume, the Sonos Roam, it doesn't behave like a proper listening. It's not room filling, all right? Now, I'm going to load up another chart, and this is for the Flip 5, okay, at 25% volume. Okay, now take a look at this. Flip 5, the rate chart. So the rate chart is for the Flip 5 at 25% volume. All throughout the whole range, you can actually see that it is a lot louder. And I'm not just saying a little bit louder, it's significantly louder. Okay, anything that you can hear out of the Flip 5 at 25% volume, it will be a lot louder at any frequency band than the Sonos Roam. Now, if you look at the bass response, it starts tailing off at about 100 hertz, all right? So it maintains quite a flat response between 100 and 200 hertz, but at 100 hertz, it starts tailing off, as opposed to the Sonos Roam, which was tailing off at 200 hertz, okay? But throughout the whole range, the curve looks pretty similar to the Sonos 5, except that is, to the Sonos Roam, except that it's significantly louder. Now, at the higher range, okay, you'll see that right about here, about 13 kilohertz, the Flip 5 starts tailing off all the way and it starts dropping down for the ultra high frequencies. But for the Sonos Roam, it actually maintains it pretty well. The drop off is not that significant. Now, I'll contribute it to the fact that the JBL Flip 5 is actually running just one racetrack driver without a dedicated tweeter, whereas the Sonos Roam has a dedicated tweeter built in, driven by its own class H amplifier. Okay, so which explains why it will be holding up this higher frequencies a little bit better. Now the next chart I'm going to load up. Okay, now in order to get the Sonos Roam to perform at the same level, same loudness as the Flip 5 at 25% volume, I actually got to pump up the Sonos Roam to 50% volume. So this orange curve that you will see here, okay, this is beginning to look a little bit more on the same grounds. In fact, it is a little bit louder at 50% than the Sonos Flip 5 at 25%, but that's not saying a lot for the Sonos Roam either. Now, it's the same thing. You will notice that it peaks off the bass at about 200 hertz, just below 200 hertz, and then it tails off from there. Well, at 50% volume, it's going to have a little bit more bass output than the Sonos, than the Flip 5, but that doesn't say a lot at all. The higher frequencies will perform a little bit better, and as noted, the roll-off, the treble roll-off is actually flatter and much more gentle, not as stark as the Flip 5. So just for comparison, I will load up the Flip 5 at 50% volume. Before that, I'll remove this 25% volume. So what you see here, this orange curve is the Sonos Roam at 50%, and then the Flip 5 at 50% coming right up in pink or purple. Okay. So again, you know, it pulls ahead so much that it's no longer funny anymore, right? The output is so high, and you'll see that between 100 and 200 hertz, actually the bandwidth is pretty much preserved, and the JBL Flip 5 is able to put out and hold up the bass a lot better. And this is the same, right? At 50% volume, both of these, they're not even in the same league at all. Okay, now in order to get the Flip 5 to sound equal to the Sonos Roam, or rather to get the Sonos Roam to sound equally loud, I've got to pump the Sonos Roam up to 80%, which is this blue chart that I'm going to load up. As we have noted already, the sound profile doesn't change with the volume. It still peaks out at just below 200 hertz, and the bass response is definitely not going to be as good as the Flip 5. And this is the Sonos Roam at 80%, Flip 5 at 50% before it even stands a chance of sounding anywhere close. Now, to the untrained ear, what is going to sound like is that JBL is going to sound a lot better, a lot louder, right? And that's how it is being marketed. That's how it's being sold. Is a party speaker. If you need to fill up a room with sound, then this guy will probably do a much better job than the Sonos Roam. If you are going to be going to the pool and outdoor, and you're going to be listening to it on your own to yourself, right? Or maybe with another friend, then maybe the Sonos Roam will do. But to cast a wider soundstage, to cast a bigger soundstage and cast a lot more noise and music and sound, then you're probably going to need the JBL Flip 5. Because at just 50% volume, it is sounding like how the Sonos Roam is going to be performing at 80% volume. Okay, so let's see. This is the Roam. This is the Roam at 80% volume and the Flip at 80% volume. Okay, so again, the Flip at 80% volume, it just pulls right ahead. Okay, and the last test is the 100% volume. So I just load up the Sonos Roam at 100%. Okay, so the Sonos Roam at 100% is going to sound similar to the Flip at 80%. And when you load up the Flip at 100%, yep, okay, all throughout the range, you'll see that the Sonos Roam is not performing as loud as the Flip 5. So the potential for the Flip 5 is definitely there in terms of volume. Okay, so there you go. And that is my review. That is my very analytical, data-driven approach and to evaluating speakers. So this is what my channel does. Okay, I I've seen quite a few reviews between these two. I've held off the review for quite a while. Some of you were requesting for this review and wondering what happened to this comparison. But I had to actually listen to it a lot more, because not that the results surprises me at all, but I want to like the Sonos Roam. Okay, trust me, I really do. I'm a Sonos fanboy. For those of you who still haven't realized that yet, I am a Sonos fanboy. But the reason why I'll go for this is function, features, okay, and form, not so much the performance. The performance, I know this sounds a lot cleaner. Even the bass, it doesn't sound so muddy as opposed to the JBL Flip 5. The JBL Flip 5, the bass actually, it sounds muddy. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a sound demo for you so you can hear for yourself how these two speakers sound like. I'm going to play one song on the Sonos Roam, and I'm going to play one song on the JBL Flip 5. I will pull in a real-time spectrum analyzer so you can see. In fact, what I will do is I'll play this Flip 5 first, okay? So the Flip 5, once it hits the peak, okay, the real-time analyzer will register it on the curve. And when I start playing the Sonos Roam, you will realize that there's at no point it will catch up to that peak that was achieved by the JBL. And we are talking about a factor of 3 to 6 decibels. On the average, at the peak is a lot higher, but on the average, you are 3 to 6 decibels behind, which means to say the volume, the perceived volume-wise, the Flip 5 is going to sound twice to 4 times as loud as the Sonos Roam. Well, and that is how I review my speakers. I take my time, I do a deep dive. For those of you who appreciate this, I would appreciate that you return a like on the video or stay subscribed to this channel. I have ordered in another JBL Flip 5 and I want to test the stereo performance of the JBL Flip 5. You can then evaluate for yourself whether two of these for about the same price, maybe with a bit of change, is better than the Sonos Roam. And if you found real value in this, in helping you decide, I have a Patreon account which you can use to basically send some coffee money along my way. Now, I'll put a QR code here. If you scan the QR code, it will take you to my Patreon account. If you're not scanning this or you're watching this on the phone, the link is right down below. I'll put it in the video commentary where you can click through and drop me some coffee money. Now, I'll leave you to these listening tests and the recorded RTA, real-time analysis spectrum analyzer, where you can see the performance of these two speakers playing a real song. I'll see you in my next video.